Hello everyone, my name is Theresa Jünger and I am pleased to present to you today my talk on the topic of the effectiveness of a school-based intervention study on drugs, design and results. The presentation is divided into 4 parts. First, basic aspects and current developments in drug prevention in Germany are addressed and the ideas for developing a learning unit on drugs are presented. Then, the intervention process and basic questions are presented. The presentation focuses on the selected results of the main study. The focus is on the statistical data analysis of the pre-post questionnaire survey, which identifies the different levels of student interest in the study and program effects. In addition, the learning content expressed in the post questionnaires is evaluated using qualitative content analysis. Furthermore, the results of the group's processing methods at each station are presented using a fully standardized observation protocol that includes criteria for cooperative aspects and documents the intervention by a trained team of observers. Finally, the most important aspects are summarized and an outlook is given. Due to the increasing prominence of the substance class of amphetamines, the primary goal of drug prevention is to provide young people with sufficient education and information. In Germany, recent efforts show that the importance of addiction prevention has increased, that a large number of measures are implemented, and that a wide variety of players are involved. Science curricula in the Federal Republic of Germany show insufficient links to the substance class of amphetamines. To follow up on successful drug prevention, an intervention study was conducted with 112 students aged 15 to 18 years at Friedrich Schiller University Jena in the fall of 2020. The effectiveness of the drug project day was tested by working through 10 stations that addressed the illicit drugs amphetamine, methamphetamine and ecstasy in a methodically varied way. A total of 10 stations was constructed according to certain criteria and can be assigned to different learning occasions. In addition to aspects of health education, the development is based on concept of organic chemistry. Thus, basic chemical concepts such as the substance particle concept, the structure property principle, and the concept of chemical reaction are focused on. New knowledge about the structures, historical aspects, production possibilities, physiological effects, and detection reaction of the substances can be acquired through methodically diversely prepared stations. In order to transform the modern topic of amphetamines into teaching materials, teachers, students, non-university institutions, for example the Eisenach Substance Analytics, and university disciplines from Jena, for example the Institute of Micromolecular Chemistry and Organic Chemistry, were involved in the conception and optimization. In order to conceptually as well as empirically intertwine the topic and to examine its effectiveness for teaching practice, the present research work is oriented towards several subject didactic principles. Thus, it succeeds in combining curricular innovation and development research as well as subject didactic transfer research with teaching learning research and empirical social research. Particularly for the experimental station, the rapid drug test, a linking of subject didactics and subject science is profitable. In connection with the model of participatory didactic action research, 3 cycle phases of development and evaluation of the new concept can be stated, which are initiated within the framework of the Learning to Teach Lab Science. Based on initial trials with teachers and students in the context of teacher training and university courses from October 2018 to August 2019, it was possible to adapt the materials to the school context. Through a pilot study in December 2019, the learning unit could be tested for the first time with 2 school classes and optimized for the upcoming main study in fall 2020, in which 7 school classes from Thuringia participated. The intervention study was conducted under constant framework conditions in the form of a laboratory study at the Friedrich Schiller University of Jena. While questionnaires and open and closed formats were used before and after the intervention in a pre-post approach, the processing of the stations in collaborative work forms in a total of 39 learning groups could be documented by a trained team of observers. The following central questions are the focus of the research project. What short-term program effects can be ensured by the project day? How do the students evaluate the entire program and the individual stations? What content-related learning can be observed as a result of the intervention? And how do the different learning groups process the individual learning station in terms of content and method? A total of 112 pre- and post-questionnaire data were generated. Of the students attending grades 10 and 11, 38 were male and 74 were female. A total of 5 cooperating schools from Thuringia participated, which show different types. Thus, 58 students were from a German Gemeinschaftsschule. This is a mixed school type with a special pedagogical profile where students can acquire different qualifications. 13 students from a Gymnasium. This is the type of school, grades 5 to 12, in which the A-level is obtained after grade 12. And 14 students from a Regelschule. This is the type of school, grades 5 to 9 or 10, in which general education and pre-vocational education for a qualified occupation are pursued. In total, there are 6 total variables. 3 constructs each were rated by students on a 4-point Likert scale in both the pre-test and post-test. It is clear from the figure that each research characteristic shows a maximum value of 4, and thus all variables are positively assessed. In particular, the box plot diagrams in the post-questionnaire are more condensed and located further up the scale. At first glance, the variable situational interest in the subject matter and assessed knowledge gain in particular stand out due to box plots with associated key figures and provide initial indication of positive evaluation of the students with regard to the implementation of the stations and the content-related learning gain. Results of the sign test make it clear that because of the intervention, there are no statistically significant differences in terms of individual interest in the topic of drugs and situational interest in the subject matter recorded in the pretest under the variable expectation of the event. However, students' individual interest in the topic of drugs is statistically significantly higher than their individual interest in the subject of chemistry, both before and after the intervention, with a medium effect. Female and male students differ statistically significantly in terms of individual interest in the topic of drugs both before and after the intervention. Female students each show higher individual interest in the topic of drugs. The largest statistically significant difference with respect to gender is the variable situational interest in the subject matter. Female students assess the implementation of the stations more positively than male participants. The effect size here corresponds to a medium effect. Results of the Kruskal-Wallis test demonstrate that only situational interest in the subject matter is affected by school types. The post hoc tests show that students from the Gymnasium differ statistically significantly from students from the Gemeinschaftsschule with a medium effect. While students from the Gemeinschaftsschule and the Regelschule rate all variables of the pre- and post-questionnaire equally, students from the Gymnasium rate especially the implementation of the intervention significantly better. Applying Spearman-Rank correlation analysis, 10 statistically significant correlations can be determined. Among others, it shows that individual interest in the topic of drugs after the intervention correlates positively with situational interest in the subject matter. Students who show higher post-intervention interest in the drug issue also rate the implementation of the stations more positively. Content knowledge growth correlates positively with the situational interest in the subject matter as a result of the intervention. Consequently, Students who perceive the complementation of the station more positively also rate the acquired knowledge higher. In addition to the program effects shown, the open-ended responses regarding the 5 topic areas could be evaluated using qualitative content analysis, which examines content learning due to intervention. Through the intercoded check, the preliminary category system could be revised and ultimately 1,263 codes could be generated. In addition to content dimensions, argumentative utterances and subjective conclusions could be recorded in parallel in 4 of the 5 main categories. These include, among others, the subjectively assessed degree of difficulty of chemical structural formulas, social ethical attitudes towards the use of drugs, or the critical handling of rapid drug tests. By documenting the intervention with a trained team of observers, 270 structured observation protocols were generated. A total of 39 learning groups participated in the drug intervention study. Learning groups were able to complete between 5 and 8 mandatory stations during the intervention period. For each learning group, some parameters of the 12 criteria were calculated for each documented observation protocol. This means that the codes of the 4 main criteria were added up and determined station by station. In the first step, the learning groups were typified with regard to basic collaborative activities, work and social behavior. It turns out that 17 learning groups, type A, show very positive working and social behavior when working through the stations, rarely lose focus, and work continuously in a goal-oriented manner. Here, very high sum parameters and very high average values for the work and social behaviors are found. In a total of 13 learning groups, type B, a high level of working and social behavior with occasional weaknesses in working and/or social behavior can be observed. The majority of these learning groups show an imbalance of working and social behavior. 8 learning groups, type C, could be assigned to the groups with worse working and social behavior. In these groups, numerous extraneous activities were identified and, in comparison, a significantly more unorganized and unstructured processing of the station was observed. A clear tendency emerges in the learning groups consisting only of female students and high school test subjects. Here, a significantly higher level of work and social behavior can be identified when working through the stations. Male and mixed learning groups show lower working and social behavior. The higher the working and social behavior within the learning groups, the fewer questions are asked about content and methods, and the more targeted the handling of the learning materials are observed, so that increased problem-solving skills can be identified here. The data analysis shows that students are interested in the topic of drugs and the implementation of the station, which provides initial indications of an acceptance-oriented learning arrangement. The triangulation of different survey instruments lead to similar results and show that especially the experimental and creative stations generate a high learning attractiveness and positive resonance. In addition, effects on a differentiated content-related learning growth can be determined. In particular, the evaluation of the 3 answers by means of qualitative content analysis in the post-test results in an extensive knowledge network on the detection possibilities and the effects of amphetamines. The fact that the learning subject seems to be attractive, especially for the female students, supports the potential of the learning station for teaching scientific contents. The analysis of the observation protocol also supports the use of the learning set in school practice, in which the majority of the learning groups show a committed willingness to work through the station and learn new subject matter. The long-term goal is to take the materials, which have now been positively evaluated, to schools and multipliers, and to disseminate them more through cooperation. And now I would like to thank you for your attention. Don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions.